I find the concept of FNAF fan games to be nothing short of amazing. The fact that a game has been so influential to the gaming community that its fans and fan-generated content outgrew the original legacy of Scott's work. What started as just remaking the game with your own characters or lore has turned into fan games being their own genre in the indie horror space. In some cases rivaling or surpassing the original quality of the older FNAF titles. And there's thousands upon thousands of these games too, all across GameJoe and itch.io. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The really, really ugly. However, rather than talking about the popular FNAF fan games, today I'm going to be discussing the less recognizable titles. Whether it be games that either were popular upon release but haven't seen the limelight in recent years, or titles that just completely flew under the radar. This is FNAF games you forgot about. Starting off, we have Five Nights at Mac Tonight, which was made by Mallrat, who was an individual with a pretty interesting resume. According to the Treasure Island wiki, he helped with the development of Five Nights at Treasure Island. Where did it go wrong? He then went on to do fan-made sequels, revivals, and remakes of Treasure Island, before eventually moving on to make original titles, such as today's topic, Mac Tonight. The game is based off of the McDonald's mascot Mac Tonight, which was used during the 1980s to 2000s in order to help promote diner sales in Southern California. In 1989, a lawsuit involving the character and its parody song of Mac the Knife forced the character and the campaign to be shelved, marking the mascot as a weird point in McDonald's promotional history. Mac Tonight is the main antagonist, as I guess he's meant to represent the night. You know, FNAF 12 till 6 type shit. Loading into night 1, we aren't actually in an office, we are straight behind the working counter and drive-thru, which is weird, but certainly a different inclusion from other FNAF titles. The location made me feel quite exposed, as it felt like I was right in the middle of the action. In the office, there was this FNAF-free repair monitor type screen, with the options speaker repair, vent heating repair, and drive away? What does that mean? Okay, I'm repairing the driveway.
We'll figure that out. Oh, sorry, mate. We can't save you. Drive away.
You have to drive away, mate. We can't get this.
I just pressed the big button on the monitor.
It says drive away, so you gotta leave, mate.
We're out of burgers. Drive away.
We got introduced to the phone guy who's Australian for some reason. I mean, the accent's decent, don't get me wrong, but just why? And also, I don't know if you noticed, but for some reason it's really difficult to hear what the phone guy's actually saying. The background ambience is way louder than the call, coupled with the fact that he's recording this message in a fucking tunnel. Why is this guy talking to me in like a tunnel?
He's stuck in the Tyne Bridge.
But I was able to deter that Mac was the only threat tonight, where when he enters the kitchen, you need to play a sound on cam 5, where he will return to his original position, thus starting the cycle again. Except it doesn't fucking work. An issue unironically returning from FNAF is that the main mechanic is unclear and inconsistent. Whether it be Mac showing up at the drive-thru and instantly killing me, or showing up at the door, me deterring him with the audio lore, then dying anyways. I gave up pretty easily on this game, as the issues I was facing reminded me a lot of the original FNAF game, and that was something I didn't want to experience again. One thing I will give this game is that the layout and design of the building and the animatronics are really well done, and the graphics remind me a lot of early FNAF style, all grungy and moody. The thing felt all dreary and depressing, and honestly added a lot of atmosphere, so good job.
You guys remember when we were like 13, we all wanted to fuck Shima from Planet Dover?
That might have just been you.
That might have just been you.
Moving on, we have Five Nights at the Krusty Krab, which released on January 25th, 2015 by Sinkaruni? I think that's how you say that? Taking a look at their profile, they've only made 3 titles, all of them being SpongeBob related. We will talk about you later. Loading up the game, we are met with a menu screen, I think. The whole thing is smothered in unreal visual effects and blue. It's hard to make out anything. T-posing models with SpongeBob and his friends periodically flash on screen, which is great. The whole thing feels like a massive parody right off the get-go, but hey, maybe I'm expecting too much from a SpongeBob FNAF game. Kicking off night one, we are in the office of the Krusty Krab, where this guy is on the phone to us. He tells us that Mr. Krab has decided to replace all of the staff with robots like the cheapskating cunt he is. But surely making robots to replace all the workers would be more expensive in the long run than just paying your employees? What in the cyber life is happening here? The office layout was very simple. We have a massive window in front of us that Squidward can attack from, and doors on the left side and the right side of the office that the rest of the characters can attack from. Cam 7, also known as the fuse room, has its own door that needs to be shut. Later in the week, Sandy will make her way to the room. Failing to keep her out will cause her to meddle with the wires and circuitry, leading to lights flashing and the door controls malfunctioning, which can lead to a death if someone approaches at the wrong time. To the game's credit, the mechanics, considering this is a SpongeBob FNAF game, are actually pretty decent. The dynamic of having Sandy potentially ruining your run if you let her get too close to the fuse room is kinda cool and forces you to check on the cameras and pay attention to your surroundings, albeit making one camera on the whole game actually feasible to use. However, she sometimes just doesn't do this. For whatever odd reason, this thing kept happening where Sandy would head to my right door and not leave the entire night. You'd probably think that this would be a catastrophic bug or gameplay issue that would lead to constant game overs and make the game impossible, but the dev decided to give us enough power to supply the whole of the United Kingdom. The power barely drains, so by the time Sandy decides to be a bitch, you have more than enough to keep that right door shut till 6 AM, which puts a screeching halt to the gameplay loop and made the whole thing a bit redundant. Also, the game really likes to show off that it was made on the Unreal Engine because the entire game is slathered with an intense amount of bloom and distortion effects, which just looks bloody awful and a huge issue that plagues a lot of these older FNAF games. It's like a certain style that you can look at and go, oh yeah, Unreal, huh? And I don't know if I just didn't play the game enough, but Mr. Krabs and Squidward never attacked once. Only SpongeBob, Squidward, and Sandy. Now that I'm reading the script, I realise that I'm a liar. Squidward did attack me towards the end of the game, and he killed me. What the fuck am I smoking? The modeling in this game is something to behold. I mean, they definitely look like robots, don't get me wrong. I just can't help but find these models, specifically Sandy and Patrick, to be very jarring. Not even in the scary, uncanny way, they just look stupid. After playing the game for 3 nights, we decided to move on to the sequel. Five Nights at the Chum Bucket is a direct sequel to Five Nights at the Krusty Krab, releasing on the 9th of May 2015. Following the ending to the first game, that I never got, the Krusty Krab burnt down and your character sought out refuge in the neighbouring Chum Bucket. Loading in the game, we are presented with pretty much the same layout as the original game, 2 doors and a giant window, except the environment is a lot nicer to look at. There's significantly less bloom than the prior title, but it's definitely still there, as well as floating asbestos, which is lovely. As well as this strange RGB effect over the cameras, which I guess is meant to make it look like a camera feed, but it just reminds me of Prime 2020 TikTok. For some reason, the phone guy this time is fucking Dutch Vanderlyn from Red Dead. Oh my holy hole.
You must be the old security guard. Introduce
Is this meant to be
myself.
Plankton?
For all intents and
It's a fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 character.
Dutch, how is this gonna get us to Tahiti?
I've got a plan, run away to Tahiti.
He has a thick country accent and explains that us escaping the Krusty Krab has caused major complications for the phone guy and his boss, as you're a potential witness to the events that happened in the restaurant. So you're trapped here with the animatronics that are relentlessly trying to kill you. So, you know, no different to what already happened. SpongeBob will attack from the left door and Patrick will attack from the right, forcing you to close the respective doors when the time occurs. The game also features an interesting power system where the amount of stuff that you can use at a time is restricted to 2, meaning that, for example, if you have both doors shut, you won't be able to access the cameras, which is required for apprehending Squidward. Oh yeah, Squidward, shut whatever vent door he's at and it's really simple. However, in the event that the power starts malfunctioning, or you need to have both doors shut for a prolonged period of time, you can press the overdrive button on the desk, which will allow you to use whatever appliances you need for 10 seconds without restrictions. This button can be used to really get you out of a pickle, but has to be used sparingly as it has a rather long cooldown, forcing you to strategize more, which is a warm welcome to the gameplay. This game improves upon its predecessor quite drastically. The mechanics are really engaging and actually require you to think about aspects like prioritization. It's a fairly competent FNAF fan game, and I actually would recommend it for those looking for a new FNAF game to play through, or wanting to relive through nostalgic titles, because as far as forgotten FNAF games go, this is a relatively underrated gem that I wouldn't mind making a resurgence one day. SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, Squidward. Final Nights is an interesting case of a FNAF fan game series. When the original 4 dropped, they were quite popular among the fan community due to the varying gameplay mechanics per game and confusing lore that attempts to tie itself to the original story. However, these games have not aged well whatsoever. The games have a noticeable lack in polish and quality, with mechanics being confusing or straight up broken. Aside from the 4th one, this is the only good one. So realistically, I could have covered any one of these games, but I decided to give the 3rd one a go, as this is the title I remember the most thanks to Markiplier's videos covering it. When I was younger, I found this game to be quite cool with its unique hospital environment, and albeit very out there but inciting animatronic design. So I was excited to jump into this for myself and see what younger me was missing out on. Spoiler alert, he missed nothing. Final Nights 3 and the other games too were created by Jenny Liam, who was a pretty respected dev among the FNAF fan game community, until he got himself involved in a scandal with a cancelled project he was working on called Built, which has since pushed him out of the limelight, and he has seemingly stepped away from making FNAF fan games, with him currently working on a project called Sonic Adventure 2 Redux, which is a built from the ground up reimagining and remastering of Sonic Adventure 2 on Unreal Engine 5. If you guys aren't too sure about the scandal, quick speedrun. Jenny Liam and his team was working on Built for the FNAF Fanverse initiative. However, miscommunication between Scott and Liam led to the project falling into development hell, where devs quit the game midway through as they were working months without pay, leading to the entire game eventually falling apart and being abandoned after Scott came to the decision to reject the project despite all the time and effort that went into it. This game opens up with a cutscene. A really loud cutscene of us being wheeled into hospital. We are seemingly playing as a child in this game, despite the fact that we take up the height and the width of the entire stretcher. Talk about being big boned, I'm fucking everything. Before night 1, we are presented with a tutorial level that teaches us all the controls and the basics of how to survive. I like when FNAF fan games have a night 0, I guess, where it teaches you everything you need to know before throwing you into the deep end and allowing you to apply already established skills from the first night, so that, in theory, you'd have an easier time understanding the game and build strategies quicker. In theory. After the tutorial, we go straight into night 1. A major difference between this game and other FNAF titles is that time doesn't progress unless you are sleeping. Sleeping presents us with a grandfather clock, slowly ticking away at the hours. In between sleep cycles, you'll need to do laps around the hospital room in order to ward off the Reapers. No sleeping if Reapers are
Reapers?
Who? What the fuck? Puppet will attack from the balcony, where you need to close the curtains when she is at her closest position. At least the game says so.
Bring E-boy.
Why you... Oh, I thought she... No, we straight to bed. Straight to bed.
Alright.
What?
What?
I got rid of you! What?
You weren't there.
Balloon Boy will attack from the cupboard, where you need to shut the door on him when he's approaching. The last threat is Spring Bonnie, where you need to check the hallway to see if he's looming near. If he is, simply shut the door until he leaves. Only issue with this is that there's 2 possible ways he can attack from, and flashing down the wrong corridor will basically result in death, as the flashlight takes a million years to recharge, meaning it's impossible to see that if he's at the other corridor.
Objection! The other animatronic attacking us during night 1 is Reaper Spring Bonnie. Spring Bonnie has one of the most confusing mechanics in the game though. He begins the night at the end of the hallway, and every time he moves it is indicated to us through a sound cue. Upon hearing one of these sound cues, we need to run up to the hallway and flash our flashlight at Spring Bonnie. We need to do this for both his first and second stage. After this, he will finally do the sound cue one more time, indicating that he is now in our doorway. This is when we need to run up to the door as quickly as we can and shut it on him. This resets his position back to the beginning, buying us time to get some rest.
So when was the game gonna fucking tell me this? Thanks to the frustrating and confusing mechanics, I didn't have the energy to get off of night 1, so I gave up after like 4 attempts. I don't know how we got 3 games deep, let alone 4 with quality control like this. My fucking god, Liam. The graphics are decent. I like how dark the hospital environment is, even though I'm pretty sure hospitals run 24/7. So unless this is meant to be a nightmare, I don't get how the Reapers, are finding the time to bully this 6-year-old. The dark environment matched up with the rain and film grain helps build an atmospheric, intense scene. It's just a shame that that's the only compliment I can give this title. Baby's Nightmare Circus was released on October 24th, 2017 by Mixless, where their only other credible titles is Tyke & Sons Lumber Co., another FNAF fan game that takes Chipper & Sons Lumber Co. and gives it a FNAF twist. I also say only other credible game, because the rest of their Game Jolt page is filled with Baby's Nightmare Circus 2 April Fool's games. And whatever the fuck Bike Fighters is.
What am I supposed to do when both of them?
The game opens up with a cutscene giving us basic exposition that we went to bed and woke up in this nightmare circus, before thrusting us into a pretty cool main menu screen. The game is split up into 2 segments, the main game and mini games. The game reminds me a lot of FNAF Help Wanted, as upon completing challenges you'll unlock collectibles that can get stored in the extra menu. You can't do a whole lot with these rather than collect them. So, the main gameplay loop sees us in the middle of the circus surrounded by 4 tents. Tent 1 to our very left is Baby's tent. We will need to check up on her periodically to avoid her from escaping and killing us. If Baby is right in our face, we need to vacate immediately and leave her for a little while. The second tent to our right is the Biddy Bads tent. We also need to check up on these guys periodically and flash them to avoid them from advancing too quickly and killing us. Behind us is where the last 2 tents are found. On the left is Bellora's tent, where we need to check up on her periodically and stop the attention meter from reaching 0. If this happens, we will die. I'm noticing a pattern. And the final tent is the rewind station, where we need to turn a hand crank and Bob's your uncle.
Oh, I got lumbago.
Yeah, the loop is very basic and quite easy to learn. Essentially having you run a massive circle around the different tents, attending to all of the animatronics' needs like they're children, making the gameplay loop quite repetitive, which isn't a good thing considering this is the main game and where we'll be spending 90% of our time. Maybe if there was more things to do to prevent the animatronics from killing us rather than observing them, would have helped made the gameplay loop less shallow. And it doesn't have to be complicated too. Maybe the Biddy Babs could have acted like the Freddles from FNAF 4, where we would need to search the tent thoroughly to flash them and make them disappear. Just anything that isn't staring for a few seconds then leaving. The minigame content isn't nothing to write home about too. The first minigame is the Mini Rena's game, where we are taking into a different part of the circus, where our goal is simple. If Mini Rena is on the left, you keep your light off. If she's in the middle, flash her. And if she's on the right, keep the light on. Rinse and repeat for 250 seconds, and you win. The second minigame is Bonbon's game, where we are taken into a different part of the circus, where our goal is simple. If Bonbon's on the left, hold your light. If he's in the middle, then keep the light off. And if he's on the right, flash your light. Rinse and repeat for 250 seconds and you win. The next game is Bonnet's game, where, oh come on man! It's the same fucking thing over and over again, but the rules are slightly tweaked. Oh my god, wow, really adding the cherry on top of the shit cake. Why are the mini games just the same thing? Surely it wasn't too hard to have varying mini games every single time. Every FNAF game with mini games can do this. Why can't Nightmare Circus? Why is this so lazy? And even the base game is nothing too special either. The whole thing just drags its feet the entire time you're playing it, which is a shame because the graphics are really good and the developer managed to capture Scott's art style and modeling almost to a T. It's so good that if you showed 9-year-old me this game and said it was FNAF 6, I would have exploded. And also the premise for this game is cool, a nightmare circus where you have to complete different games to earn your freedom in a help wanted style of play is really cool. It's just a real shame that the execution is barely there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I can't lie.
Why is she stuck like that?
Wasn't
Why would
just
she
standing there?
stance like
Okay,
that?
I can't lie, it is a little comical.
Silly Billy R stance.
It looks like when you're sneaking downstairs for food and you hear your dad get up.
So, yeah.
You look, you just stand there.
Juniors is definitely the newest game that we are going to be covering today, releasing on August 21st, 2022 by Derek and Romanoff. The game also had a bunch of other people working on different aspects of the title too, like Friendly Wolf being the lead programmer and FreeFS, what the fuck are you doing here?
Jingle bell with my gang, jingle bell with my gang. You already know, you already know.
There was a huge amount of hype leading up to the release of the game. The graphics, art style, and gameplay looked like something that we have never seen before in the FNAF community. However, after the release of this game, a controversy between one of the lead developers came out. Of course it did. Turns out that 3 FNAF game developers that were big names in the community, one of them being Junior's lead dev Romanoff, had a private group chat for about a year and a half where they were collecting leak information on various games being worked on by other FNAF fan game devs, with one of their main targets being Kane Carter, in order to have blackmail material on other developers, specifically those in the FNAF Fanverse initiative, as they allegedly had leaks on Pop Go's Evergreen and Candy's 4. The scandal was then eventually exposed and the devs as well as their work fell into obscurity, leading to where we are today. The game starts with an overly edgy dialogue sequence accompanied by some relatively awesome hand-drawn stills, giving visual representation to what our main character is talking about. After the cutscene, we are then thrown into a free roamable hub world called the Barrens. Described as a limbo between life and death, the hub world has a PSX art style, but I'd argue that this is more of an N64 art style than anything. Paul Bear's design and the HUD elements are very reminiscent of titles like Super Mario 64, which is an aesthetic I haven't seen a lot of horror games do, and honestly, I dig it a lot. The entire hub world is also in black and white, with malicious and low poly faces hiding in the darkness, and a large brain looming overhead for some reason. This hub world area is awesome. I don't know many FNAF fan games that feature a hub world like this, but the inclusion is a warm one. The aesthetic here also reflects the game's paranormal approach. The lands just scream haunted. It's phenomenal work. The game started for it. Wow, that guy is geeked. Holy oh, shit! After talking to Paul Bear, we learned that we are a paranormal investigator looking into the mysterious closure of the restaurant Juniors. Paul Bear is willing to help us by letting us investigate the restaurant at night. In return, we'd have to help Paul Bear with his unfinished business. Heading off to bed, we start the first night where...
xxpoop.com.
Rule 34. Welcome.
Oh. The graphics are kinda insane. This game is the definition of gorgeous. Believe it or not, this game was made on Click Team Fusion 2.5, and they really pushed this engine to its limits. Everything down to the tiniest speck of dust on that Balloon Boy figure just looks impossibly realistic. The whole thing could pass off as a film. The detailing is insane too, like the fur on the plush above the monitor, and the way the environment reflects off of the whiteboard and the mug. The lighting is amazing too, with the green hue of the monitor spilling out into the environment and being visible on Balloon Boy's face and the previously mentioned plushie. The whole office area is packed to the brim with various items in boxes, making you really feel like this place is abandoned, with stuff seemingly being placed carelessly around the back office. The animatronic designs themselves too are so scary yet so awesome to look at. They all have this odd organic flesh type look to them, very reminiscent of the early Chuck E. Cheese animatronics from the 90s that just look like something straight out of Nightmares. As much as I love the designs here, I can't help but feel that maybe it was a bit too much. Not in the sense that there's way too much going on with the designs themselves, more in the sense that I look at these guys and can't help but think, they made these to entertain kids? I just don't believe that this establishment would have such uncanny characters roaming around to greet guests. The main gameplay loop in Juniors is paranormal investigating. During the night, the game will tell you that a ghost has entered an animatronic. Your objective is to monitor each character as they move around the building, looking for clues as to which character's haunted. Clues range from lights flickering, handprints being smeared on the cameras, and characters moving erratically around the building. On paper, it sounds simple, but when you take into account that multiple, if not all, animatronics can be in the same room at once, forcing you to really pay attention to the smaller details to determine which animatronic is haunted. Once you deter the possessed animatronic, you must head over to the maintenance panel and mark them. If the character you marked was haunted, the game will reward you with a brief moment of downtime and being one step closer to finishing your shift. Rather than having to survive till 6 AM, you actually need to catch the ghost out a certain amount of times a night before you can be done. At the same time, you also need to manage the animatronic stability. As the night progresses, every character's stability will decrease. If a character's stability depletes, you will be jump scared. To prevent this, you need to call the characters one at a time to your office, where you do a quick drag and drop mini game to replace a part, then send them on their way, restoring their stability to 100%. But be careful, because accidentally calling a haunted animatronic to your office will result in a game over. Furthermore, if you mark the incorrect animatronic as haunted, their stability will decrease dramatically. I love the gameplay loop in Juniors. It does so many things different from other FNAF fan games. It's such a breath of fresh air seeing all the layers come together in this nightly routine. Especially because, as far as I know, Juniors is a one-of-a-kind game, and I can't name another FNAF game that attempts or replicates a similar gameplay loop. I honestly feel bad for the development team, aside from Romanoff, as his actions completely undermine the exceptional work that went into this title. I feel the controversy led to a lot of people to sweep this game under the rug, which is such a shame because I think it's one of the best FNAF fan games we've had in recent years, and I believe it deserves similar recognition to what titles like Candies and The Joy of Creation gets. However, hope isn't entirely lost for this game, as 2 new lead devs have taken over the project and are working on a sort of DLC expansion remake of the game, called Enter the Flip Side. And honestly, I'm dying to see this get released. Hopefully when it drops, the game can finally get the attention it deserves and be clear of all of the drama that surrounded it. It does kind of
Golly,
look like
I wasn't expecting you to show up. I'm Paul Bear.
Where the hell am I? Who are you?
Wario's is a game series I don't know too much about. I knew it existed due to YouTubers like Markiplier, and my friends constantly referencing it when the discussion suits it.
Final Night.
So there's like one good game on here.
Which is
Wario's.
Wario's.
Okay.
Wario's is the good one.
However, what I do know is that the first installment was released on January 6th, 2015 by developer Triple Wario, and saw a massive cult following with 5 games from what I can see and 2 remasters of the first 2 titles, making it the most prominent game that we are discussing today. So let's see what all the hype is about. The game opens up with a static image of Wario and Waluigi in a factory, with accompanying text giving us our exposition. The two opened a fast food factory together, however they suddenly went missing, forcing the factory to close. 7 years later, the government decided to reopen the factory, hiring you as the night guard. Why did they reopen it?
I don't know.
Loading in, we have a very basic office, super reminiscent of the FNAF 1 office. We have a door on the left and a window on the right. You may notice right off the bat that the game has a pretty unique visual style. Assets seem to be comprised of stock images, ranging in quality, which gives the game a pretty lazy, yet oddly interesting design. I don't know if I like it or hate it. Like, it doesn't look awful per se, but it doesn't look great either. It's sort of a weird middle ground. For the first night, we have 2 threats to deal with in the form of Wario and Waluigi, where they did nothing all night.
Wario's is the good one.
Throughout the excruciatingly long night, the pair just kept jumping back and forth between cameras, never appearing at my door once, completely killing any threat or tension that the game was attempting, maybe? I don't know. I'm really unsure about this title. The second night went very similarly, except this time Luigi showed up who, oh my god, he actually attacked me. And fuck me, Wario's here too? It's like I'm playing a game! Wario attacks from the left door, shut it to lock him out. Luigi attacks from the right window, shut it to lock him out. Where the hell is Waluigi?
Wario's is the good one.
This game is excruciatingly painful to sit through. Everything, even the mouse scrolling, is at a snail's pace. I'm falling asleep just being here. Oh, and that was an actual yawn, by the way. I'm so bored of reading this script. Oh, fuck me. I'm I'm actually yawning. And the characters, when they decided to show up, were so easy to defend against. You barely have to wave a finger to get them to disappear. I generally don't understand how they spawned 4 more installments. Were our expectations back then for FNAF content just in hell or something? This game was terrible. How long did that take me to discuss? 3 minutes, wow! Those Nights at Rachel's is the final game we're going to be discussing today, releasing on February 5th, 2016 by developer Nixon, who's made another FNAF title you may or may not have heard of. You know, nothing complicated, just a little series called The Joy of Creation. Loading up the game, we jump straight into the first night, where there is already a lot to discuss. The office space is huge, and there's way too many buttons and things to have to press. First of all, this game is mainly controlled by your keyboard rather than your mouse. There's a reason why games like this are mainly controlled with the mouse. When you first play this game, it can be super disorientating to wrap your head around all of the buttons, such as space to open and close the cameras, E to peek around the corner, A and D to move, W to move forward, space to perform actions, and not to mention that sometimes the buttons do nothing when you're in certain positions. The main gameplay loop is relatively simple. Use the Z key and X key on your keyboard to close the respective doors when an animatronic is there. However, only one door can be shut at a time, so if both doors are occupied, you need to hide under your desk. Why can't we just hide under the desk anyways? At the same time, you need to periodically check the back of your office, where a puppet type entity is slowly opening the curtains. Hold space to shut the curtains and prevent them from leaving. This game is the definition of bare bones. The mechanics are shallower than a kiddie pool, and also just make completely no sense whatsoever. I also can't help but shake the feeling that Nixon never finished this game, as the whole thing just feels really rough and janky, with weird issues like the game refusing to go into full screen, and things like the phone call on night 1 not even being over before 6 AM arrives.
End of the year.
That's
it's a bit unsanitary and rude, but
They're really hyping this film up. They really are. Did you see the new teaser that came out today?
By the way.
Hello and welcome to your new job at
Brilliant.
Dogs and Rachel's. We have the best animatronics and food available at the lowest price.
Oh no.
Guarantee.
Oh no.
Why?
This is your first
I'm getting horrible flashbacks to FNAF.
Okay.
I'm getting horrible.
Wait, did you beat the night before the phone call even ended?
Yes, I did. The good I can say about this game is that the environments and models look really good, but this is Nixon we are talking about. He always cooks with the models. But yeah, that's generally everything I have to say on this game. I beat the first 2 nights on the first try and never looked back. We have looked at a total of 8 fan games today that fell through the cracks of the public. Many of them were terrible, and I can see why they were forgotten, while others were just mediocre or decent at a push, with one game rising upon the rest. Juniors was a phenomenal experience, and I definitely want to try and beat it in my own time. And if you had to play one of these games I played today, it would definitely be this one. Don't sleep on this title more than people already have. Just wanted to quickly say thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I'm going to do some unscripted outro bullshit, so feel free to click off if you don't want to hear me ramble. Thank you guys so much for the support on recent videos. This rebranding, per se, has been super daunting for me to do, because whenever I publish videos nowadays, I'm always scared that they're just not going to do well. But with the recent performance of the meant-to-be unofficial music video and the untapped potential of Minecraft horror mods, I really feel like I've struck a niche with video essays and also just the occasional, you know, personal projects I'm doing for fun. I'm definitely going to prioritize doing the video essays because they take significantly less time to make than the music videos. I'll probably do the music videos like once every couple of months, so if you have any suggestions for music video content or topics to discuss in video essays, please let me know in the comments below. And make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed.